Boise State hanging around with number 7 Oregon in this game, 37-34, the final score. Oregon needed a last-second field goal to win this game. Let's go over the highest-graded players on both sides in this game, starting off with Oregon. Actually, Dalton, their highest-graded player, Bryce Botcher right there, he's actually a baseball player, outfielder for the Oregon baseball team as well at 82.4. Johnny Cornelius at a 79.6, Derek Harmon at a 78.7, Devin Jackson at 78.7 as well, and Jamari Caldwell at a 75.3. And then we'll also go over to the Boise State Broncos in this one. Omarion McCoy, the corner, at a 79.4. Ashton Jeanty, who has been outstanding through 2 weeks, 79.2. Sheldon Newton at a 73.4, the D tackle. Marco Notarini, the linebacker, at a 73.1. And Rodney Robinson rounding it out at a 71.5. Dawn, for you, what was the stat that really told the story and why Boise State was able to hang around in this game?
There is going to continue to be a lot of talk about this Oregon offense and where it's at right now. And I find it interesting that 4 of their 5 best players in this game were defensive players. But I mentioned last week that I was a little worried about how Oregon can get vertical, okay? And they had a couple completions to Evan Stewart early, right? One bomb down the left sideline and then a 34-yard touchdown. Those were the only 2 completions, though, the entire game. They had over 10 air yards. And Gabriel just 2 for 5 on throws over 10 yards. And after that Stewart touchdown, that Evan Stewart touchdown happened at roughly 9:30 in the second quarter. Their offense only scored 9 points from that point forward. They had the 2 special teams touchdowns, the kick return, the punt return. They only scored 9 points from that moment forward, and they did not complete another pass of at least 10 air yards. Evan Stewart, those 2 big plays were huge for him because maybe he has to be that guy that gets vertical for them and can win downfield as opposed to everything being after the catch with guys like Tej Johnson and Trayshawn Holden, right? Which, look, Trayshawn Holden with the long touchdown too, took house to slant for a 60-something yard touchdown. That's big. But you can't always do that, right? This is Boise State, and their secondary is not great, and you can get yards after the catch on them. Eventually, this just does not look as consistently explosive as it did last year with Bo Nix and Troy Franklin. And I think when you're talking about a team, even with Dylan Gabriel and all these talented guys, if you're only throwing the ball 6 yards on every single play, you have to be able to threaten it. You have to be able to threaten explosive plays through the air. And I think to come out of this game with only 2 completions over 10 yards in the air and 9 points in the last 39 minutes against a Boise State defense that clearly gives up a lot of points, right? They gave up 45 points to Georgia. So
yeah. Actually,
I shouldn't even say that. Boise State went in there on defense, and they gave up 23 points to Oregon in Autzen Stadium.
I was just going to say
Actually, now that I say it out loud, that's a good effort. Those 2 special teams touchdowns really bailed out Oregon's offense because they have not looked great. They scored 24 on Idaho last week, and they scored 23 on Boise this week. There's a lot to figure out with this with this Oregon offense. And the first thing to me is it starts with we need ways to create explosive plays down the field. We need a guy who can be that Troy Franklin type of guy that hit home runs for us. Evan Stewart did it twice in this game and then went silent. We need it more consistently. We need a more consistent threat downfield.
Yeah. I was just going to say the fact that 2 of their touchdowns in this game came out of Tej Johnson, 85-yard punt return, and then a Jaden Lamar kickoff return touchdown as well. So 23 points Oregon's offense scored in this game. And Dawn, you mentioned how they weren't able to get the ball going downfield. I think a big reason for that, this O-line is worrisome. We thought this O-line, hand up, I thought this O-line was a top 5 O-line in the country entering the year. I thought Oregon had the best offense in the country entering the year. I might be completely wrong about that right now. Oregon in this game had a 64.4 pass blocking grade. This is the second straight week that Oregon's been below a 65 in a pass blocking grade, and it came against Idaho and Boise State. Last year, they only had 1 game all season where they were below a 65 pass blocking grade. They came against Washington with their really good D-line led by Braylon Trice. Josh Connerly Jr., who we like a lot, their left tackle, he allowed 2 sacks in this game. I think actually the offense looks fine. I think the receiving core is fine. Dylan Gabriel's fine. The running game looks fine. This O-line, though, I am really, really worried about right now. And this is 2 straight weeks against an FCS opponent and a Group of 5 opponent. And yes, Boise State is one of the best Group of 5 teams. I understand that. But 2 straight weeks now, when you get into Big Ten play with more physical teams, I'm worried about this O-line now. So that's my stat that tells the story. I think this Oregon O-line is kind of killing this offense right now.
Yeah, I agree. It's a combination of all of it, and it could be in part why they can't make those explosive plays. Maybe Dylan Gabriel just doesn't have enough time, because we've seen him throw the ball plenty downfield at Oklahoma, at UCF, anywhere he's been able to throw the ball down the field. But this is the combination of those two things is a problem, because you can't just be A, not physical enough on the offensive line in the Big Ten, and B, you can't just check down and throw 60. You're not going to be able against the Michigans and the Ohio States of the world and the Penn State. I don't think they play. Penn State doesn't play Oregon, but against those types of teams, you're not going to house 60-yard touchdowns after the catch.
No.
These teams can cover. These teams can tackle. And even yesterday, say in the Texas-Michigan game, they had to set up those things. They didn't just walk out there and run a 6-yard curl and run around them and go. Like you have to set these things up. And if your offensive line doesn't allow you to do that, and if your receivers aren't explosive enough to do that, you're going to look kind of plotting on offense.
Absolutely. So, Dawn, for you, what was the most impressive part and why Oregon was ultimately able to escape with a victory in this game?
They were able to escape because they were better on special teams.
Yep.
The third phase. And you mentioned the Jaden Lamar kick return. It was actually Noah Whittington did 99.9% of the work.
Right, yes.
And eventually
Good
he dropped the ball a foot from the goal line, and Lamar got credit for the
Good
touchdown.
call. I was looking at the box score real quick.
Yeah, in the box score, it's Lamar's touchdown, but he gets about a foot on it. It's a 1 foot kick return yards.
Finish the play. Finish the play.
Exactly. And actually, when they reviewed it, they said the only reason it stood is because Lamar
covered it. Yeah.
Could you imagine if that ball would have rolled out the end zone?
The game.
I mean, we've seen it so many times.
They would have lost the game.
So
yeah.
I mean, but return to kick for a touchdown. Return to punt for a touchdown. Tej Johnson had a big punt return in the first quarter that set up the Evan Stewart touchdown. They were just better than Boise on special teams. Boise missed a long field goal late, but they have a big time kicker who probably hopes he can hit a 53, 54 yard. It seems like we're seeing that in college more than ever. I mean, you see these guys trying 54-yarders, 59-yarders.
62-yarder in the Notre Dame game at the end of that game.
Yeah, they took a shot at that. How about the kick from Iowa State?
Yes.
54 yards, in Iowa in the clutch. It feels like we're seeing more great kickers than ever, but Oregon was better than Boise State in the third phase in this game, not necessarily on offense and defense. So, look, sometimes you escape games like that, and they have a lot to work on, but it's good to have a really good special teams unit, especially Tej Johnson as a punt return. That feels like it's not even fair sometimes when he's back there. That was the reason they won this game, was their special teams. They have to get a lot of credit.
It's sad that college kickers are getting better, because that was the thing that I loved about college football, is how unreliable college kickers were. It made games so hilarious. Just like a 25-yard chip shot to win. Nope, we're going to overtime.
We saw it in the Arkansas game, didn't we?
We'll get into that, and how I'm a little still ticked off about that game. But Dalton, my most impressive part of this game was easily Ashton Jeanty. This guy's the Heisman right now.
It's a good pick.
Is he the Heisman trophy? Like, you got to. I understand we're months away. If you have to give out the Heisman Trophy right now, he's going to Ashton Jeanty, I think, right?
It's either him or Quinn Ewers.
Quinn Ewers, Cam Ward probably up there.
I know Jackson Dart's got
Miller Moss.
Miller Moss is a good one.
Dave Safaro, shout out to him for this stat. Jackson Dart has 8 total touchdowns and 7 total incompletions.
I can't give it a Dart because he hasn't really played.
No, he hasn't played anymore.
Middle Tennessee was a step up from last week, but not too far. No, I mean, yeah, you look at Quinn Ewers, you look at Ashton Jeanty, and Miller Moss is a good one too.
Yeah.
What he did against LSU and then tearing it up against Utah State last night. That might be your top 3 right there. But Jeanty's incredible.
Potential Miller Moss interview coming soon. Potential. Well, we'll see. We can set it up, but potential.
It's in the works. We'll see.
We're in the works. But Ashton Jeanty, outstanding in this game. Interview, if you want to watch Ashton Jeanty.
We did have an interview.
We interviewed him. He was, again, awesome last week against Georgia Southern. 25 carries for $192 and 3 touchdowns in this game against Oregon with 9 forced missed tackles. The thing about Ashton Jeanty that so many people who don't watch him always go to is like, okay, Boise State running back, he's killing Group of 5 competition. No, last year against UCLA, last year against Washington, he did really well. This game against Oregon, he did really well. This guy's the best running back in America. He is.
Right now he is, yeah.
He's the best running back in America.
Yeah.
And we had so many great guys coming back this year with Ollie Gordon and Quinshon Judkins. No, but Ashton Jeanty right now. He has 459 rushing yards, 86 more than anyone else in the country this season. 9 rushing touchdowns, 3 more than any other running back in the country this year. 92.1 rushing grade, leads the country as well. And Dawn, the scariest part about this for Ashton Jeanty, they haven't even used him as a receiver yet, which is his best attribute. He has 5 catches for 12 yards this entire season. He's the best receiving back in the country. So all of a sudden you're talking about, okay, he's the best pure rusher in America, and you haven't even tapped into his best attribute, which is his receiving ability. This guy is a bona fide superstar, and I might get fired for saying this on the PFF airwaves. He's probably going to be a first-round running back in the NFL draft.
Yeah, I agree. There was one deep ball where they tried him on a go route last night that he made a terrific catch on, but he ended up out of bounds. Yep. These are the types of plays he can make. We know what he can do in the receiving game, and the more they add that into their offense to create easier throws, the better they're going to be. Jeanty, you could cut those numbers in half, and you'd be like, wow, he's having a great first 2 weeks. And the fact that they're that – no, I mean – what did he say? 2,500 total and 20 touchdowns?
And we scoffed at him. We're like, oh, that'd be cool. Yeah,
he's
good luck, man.
He's halfway to the 20 touchdowns already.
Yep. He's already halfway.
It's just silly what he's doing. And now he's going to get into Mountain West competition.
Yeah.
We already know.
Start.
We know what he's going to do against the Mountain West. I mean, he really could put up those types of numbers this year.
Shout out Trevor Sekmo. He had him as RB1 entering the year, and I was like, Ollie Gordon's really special. Quinshon Judkins, they are very special. But, Trevor might be on about that.
He's
next to Alvin Kamara, man. I see a lot of Kamara.
I'm with you. There's actually no logical answer to stopping him. You just kind of hope.
Oregon was just bouncing off him. I was like, oh gosh, yeah. So he was outstanding.